Hello and welcome to this new video. In this video we will configure our Epic Dev Portal to create our organization and assign it a product representing our game to then use it in Unreal Engine and run our online subsystem EOS in the third-person template. To do this, you must consult the Dev Portal, link in the description, and connect with an Epic account. Before proceeding, I advise you to create 2 or 3 Epic accounts because we need them later to test our game with several clients or players, in other words. Here is the Epic account creation page, link in the description. For my part, I have already created 3 Epic accounts to use them throughout this EOS OSS tutorial. I advise you to provide a meaningful name for each account in order to identify the player's number. This allows you to easily understand who does what in the game. For example, in my case, I gave these names to the 3 accounts I created. Return to the Dev Portal login page and click Sign In. Here you must choose an Epic account to access the portal. In my case, Epic offers me to choose or create an organization because I already have several organizations in my portal. This will not necessarily be the case for you. In this tutorial, I will create a new organization to show you all the configurations needed to run your game with EOS subsystem. Choose a name for your organization and then click on Create. There you have it. You now have the dashboard in front of your eyes. Here we will configure the elements necessary for our game. Each organization can contain several products. For now, we have an organization but not yet an associated product. A product represents the application that will implement game services such as session creation, player stats, achievements, etc. Before creating the product, we will configure some elements in the organization. There, you will have the list of members of this organization. For now there is only one person. He is the owner of the Epic account that created the portal. It should be noted that to test the game with several Epic accounts, these accounts must be part of the organization. Thus, they must have access to the product representing the game. We need to add accounts here for dev purpose only. When you go into reduction, your product will be approved and then all Epic accounts can connect and play your game. Here you have the list of roles that you can assign to the Epic account to invite to your organization. I let you read the description of each of them to better understand the difference. In this tutorial, to keep it simple, I will give the admin role to the accounts to add. Click on Invite and add the email of the account to invite. Then choose the role to assign. Finally, click on Invite. An invitation email will be sent to the person invited. In my case, it is me because I sent the invitation to my other Epic account. Note, sometimes the email takes a few minutes to be delivered. In the meantime, I will invite the second account. It's always the same process. As you can see, I received the invitation email. Open the email and then click on Join Organization. Here a message informs you that you are trying to join the organization with an unassociated account. This is normal, because the portal is always opened by another account. Click on Change Account. Then click on Sign In and log in with the account that received and approved the invitation. As you can see, now you have 2 members in the organization. I will now accept the invitation of the second account. It will be the same process as before. As you can see, now you have 3 members in the organization. Now I will log out of the portal and log back in with the first account. This action is not required because all accounts are now admin and can do everything, but it is just a way to avoid confusion. Now, it's time to create the product. Click on Create Product and then choose a name to give to your product. Your game will use the services provided by this product. Of course, this will be possible after the configuration of the product and the configuration of the Unreal Engine project that will implement the services. Once the product is created, click on the product name. A new bar appears on the left of the screen. It represents the actions that can be done to adapt our product to our needs and then implement what we should have in our game. As well as to monitor the uses of Epic services by our game, this page also provides documentation of EOS online services and how to integrate them into the game. Here you have the Epic Game Store. This tab is made to deploy your product on the game store once your game is ready to be published. Then, you have the Game Services tab. Click on it. You may be prompted to accept agreements if you haven't already accepted them. You can take your time to read these agreements before accepting them. For my part, I will accept everything directly. Note, the Accept button will be activated when you scroll down the entire page. Finally, click on Accept. The Game Services tab represents all the Epic services that you can use in your game. Of course, this will be possible when you configure your project in a way to use Epic Online Services as an online subsystem. The services are matchmaking, stats, achievements, leaderboards, storage services, anti-cheats, sanctions, player reports and player ticketing. Don't worry, we will discover everything in this series and I will show you how to implement and integrate them step by step. Now, we will configure the product so that we can have the necessary information to set up in our Unreal Engine project. In the bar on the left, look for Product Settings and click on it. This tab mainly represents the credentials to use in our application. In our case, it is Unreal Engine. In this way, our game will use these credentials to access this product, and therefore to use the game services. The page shows you the product ID and informs you that no client is configured for now. Thus, it shows you the sandboxes and deployments to use in this product. By default, there is only one sandbox and one associated deployment. This deployment is for live production. We need to create a sandbox and deployment for dev. Like this, our work will be clean because we will do not touch the production deployment. As you can see, we can't create the dev sandbox for now because we still have a step to do. Click on the Clients tab. You may be shown new licenses to accept. Click on Go to License and then click on Review and Accept for each license. Accept all licenses. Return to the Clients tab by clicking on the product name, then on Product Settings. Now we will create the clients. A client basically represents the credentials to use in our Unreal Engine project so the player can connect to the game with his Epic account and use the product's game services via the EOS online subsystem. Click on Create Client and give a meaningful name. For my part, I choose Client Dev. This client is to be used by the player. Then we must create the policy of this client. A policy represents the role to give to this client. For example, can this player create sessions or not? The portal provides by default predefined policies for each use case. Click on Create Policy. You can then choose a predefined type. In my case, I will customize the policy to enable all the rights for this client because I will show you the integration of all online features by using the easy OSS plugin. If you encounter problems with the plugin later, check that the client has the right to execute the functionality provided by the plugin. I chose a custom type because this policy is dedicated to players. I will activate the user required box. Then I will activate all the features. Note there are features that cannot be activated because they are dedicated to the server and not to the player. Once finished, click on Add New Client. Now I will create a second client for the server. This client is to be used by our Unreal Engine server when we will test our game on a dedicated server. Important note, the server policy does not require a user because the trusted server policy does not need a logged-in user to access game services. Now we have two clients. The first is for the player and the second is for the server. Now we will create the application to be associated with this product. To do this, click on Epic Account Services in the bar on the left. Then click on Create Application. You can review your brand settings and change the application name. What interests us is the permissions requested by this application as well as the linked clients. In the permissions page, I will activate the online presence, friends, and country. So this application can have the status of the player if he is online or not, as well as access his friend list and his country. In the linked clients page, I will associate the client dev that I created earlier for the player. In the brand settings, you can choose a logo for your application. Once finished, we will do the last step. We will create a sandbox for the dev. To be able to do it, we must first click on at the game store and accept the agreements. Note, we are not going to deploy our product on the store now. So don't worry, you will not pay the submission fee to be able to implement and test the services. Click on Exit and return to Sandbox tab. You can now see that the Dev Sandbox is active and that you can now use it with your game. Go to the Client tab. You will see new licenses to accept. Click and accept all. Once completed, your product will be ready to be used by your Unreal Engine project. That is all for this video. See you in the next one.